The New York Rangers need a bounce-back season from Adam Fox, and we tell you why they are likely to receive it.
You're Locked on the New York Rangers, your daily podcast on the New York Rangers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, Blue Shirts fans, to episode number 1370 of the Locked On New York Rangers podcast. I'm your host, Jon Chik. Just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. And today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com/LockedOnNHL for 50% off of your first year. And we are, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So want to go ahead and continue with our fun-filled offseason series here. Basically, I think most listeners, viewers, etc. are familiar with what we do here, but in case you're new around here, basically we take a look at every single Ranger player on the roster that we project to make the opening night roster next season, take a look at everything that could go right, everything that could go wrong, and then have kind of a final verdict and some final thoughts on said player heading into the new season. And today, we're going to shift our focus to Adam Fox. Fox, actually the first defenseman that we're covering in this offseason series, but he's also a very good player to start with in that regard, given the fact that he is so massively important to the New York Rangers. But as we always do, we'll start with the worst case scenarios. We'll work our way to the best case scenarios. Always good to end on the nice things, the good stuff, and always be glass half full here on Locked On New York Rangers, even after what was a very difficult season for this New York Ranger team. We did our best to stay positive as much as one could stay positive during a season like that, but I am starting to look forward to the upcoming season, and hopefully most of you are as well. Worst case scenarios for Adam Fox. I think, number one, injuries continue to be an issue and start to become even more of an issue. Now, when we do this offseason series, I tend to leave this out, the whole injury idea, because, yes, I think we're all able to figure out in a worst case scenario, a player would get injured. The only time we bring it up is if injuries have been or are starting to be a little bit of a concern for one player or another. And with Adam Fox, look, it's not like he's missing 20, 25, 30, 35 games every season. It's not even close to that. But in a relatively short amount of time, the last couple of seasons, the injuries have begun to pile up a little bit. We saw a couple years ago, he got that nasty collision with Sebastian Aho where they basically went knee to knee and Fox wiped out and had to miss some time. And then also 2 years ago in the playoffs, I believe it was Nick Jensen for the Washington Capitals. The two of them went knee to knee and Fox went down. And I don't believe he missed any time. He definitely didn't miss any games, Fox, in the playoffs that year. But you watch the rest of the postseason run, and Adam Fox was still good, but he didn't really come across like a superstar defenseman the way that we all know him to be. And I do start to wonder, you look at this past season, down season for Adam Fox by his own lofty standards. So you start to wonder, are these injuries starting to pile up a little bit? And they're all to the knee area, the lower body, the leg. And that's about the last place that you want to, sustain significant injury, especially if you're a defenseman in the NHL. You need that mobility. And, obviously if injuries like that pile up, it's going to be difficult to keep performing at the same level that you've been performing at. So obviously we hope that's not the case with Adam Fox. But again, injuries, it's common sense. In a worst case scenario for any player, they get injured. But with Fox, definitely worth bringing up because you do notice the mobility not quite at the same level this past year as maybe we've seen it in seasons prior. But we'll continue on here. I think also in a worst case scenario, this one might sound a little harsh, but stick with me on it. Adam Fox is named the captain of the New York Rangers. I just don't really think personality-wise that he's the guy for this role. Now, granted, we don't see everything that happens behind the scenes, right? We're not in the locker room. We don't see these guys interact on a day-to-day basis. I mean, we can obviously watch the games and see how they interact with each other when they're in the spotlight and when they're actually playing. But the behind-the-scenes stuff, that's largely kept, a secret for most of us. But when I watch Adam Fox, and you guys can correct me if you feel that I'm wrong about this, I don't necessarily see him as somebody that's a fiery leader. He can be a leader, and I think certainly, he earned the alternate captaincy, one of the alternate captaincies based on how he performed, thus far in his NHL career. But I see a lot of comparisons between Adam Fox and Brian Leetch. A lot of parallels here. Leetch eventually became the captain of the New York Rangers once Mark Messier left. he went to the Vancouver Canucks for a couple of years, then he came back to the Rangers, ended up being the captain all over again. Leach basically just gave it back to him, if memory serves me right. But Leach, again, phenomenal player, unbelievable talent, Stanley Cup champion, one of the most important players on the only Ranger championship team that they've had in 85 years or however long it's been now. However, I never really saw him as like the captain for the same reasons that I don't necessarily see Adam Fox as the captain. Both unbelievable talents, both high-end defensemen, elite defensemen, Norris Trophy caliber defensemen. But I don't see them as necessarily the guy that's going to be the big rah-rah guy and the guy to wear the C and be the captain of the team. With Fox, here's the thing with Fox, too. I don't know this. This is just kind of a hunch, I guess you can say, a hypothesis even. I feel like with Adam Fox, he's not necessarily looking to be the next captain of the New York Rangers, but I also get the feeling he won't shy away from it. Like if the Rangers went to Fox about being the captaincy, he would see that as an honor and a privilege, and he would certainly accept it. And I think he would lead the team to the best of his abilities. But again, and correct me if I'm wrong, does anybody out there see Adam Fox as the big rah-rah guy, the guy that's going to stand up and deliver a fiery speech, get in the face of teammates if that's what they need? I just don't see him as that. And I do think he's certainly in the running to be the next captain, but I feel like that would be maybe a little bit too much on the plate of Adam Fox. I think he's better off as an alternate captain. Maybe even you kind of see him as like the de facto leader of the defensemen. And we're going to elaborate on that concept a little bit later in today's episode. But for me, my number one, if the Rangers name a captain going into the season, is still JT Miller. I've got him just ahead of Vincent Trocheck, but those are clearly my top two. Leach. See, now I got Leach on the mind. Fox for me is at number 3. And if you want a dark horse candidate, a couple of you guys have thrown this out there in the past as well. I would say Will Cooley, although I just don't think the Rangers are going to do that. I mean, he's so young. He's just getting started in his NHL career. And I don't think after such a tumultuous season, you're going to throw the C on a 23-year-old. I could be wrong, but to me, it's one of those 3 guys. It's either Miller, Trocheck, or Fox. And if I'm ranking them, it would be in that exact order: Miller, Trocheck, and Fox, as far as my personal preferences as, for who the next Ranger captain would be. I think also, in a worst case scenario, Adam Fox just fails to step up as a leader. Now, I know I just mentioned that I don't necessarily want to see him as the captain of this team going forward, but that doesn't mean that he can't step up in a leadership role, a much needed leadership role, because the Rangers, when you look at them last season, I mean, they had a laundry list of problems and more things than we could possibly list in one episode here. But one of the biggest issues was a complete and total lack of leadership. And look, you trade your captain, that's going to send some shockwaves through the locker room. I understand that. Kreider, it always looked like he was kind of on borrowed time this past season. I think maybe that affected him a little bit as well. So now you're down your captain. You're down your alternate captain who had been here for 15 years. The Rangers have a leadership void that needs to be filled this season. Adam Fox is one of the guys that I would look to, but in a worst case scenario, that doesn't happen. And the Rangers still do suffer this upcoming season from a distinct lack of leadership. It was a problem last season. It will continue to be a problem this season if that void is not filled. And for me, Adam Fox is one of the guys that you look to. He's becoming one of the longer tenured Rangers on this team. He's 27 years old now. If you can possibly believe that, it's time for him to step up in that role. But in a worst case scenario, again, it wouldn't all be on Adam Fox. But if the Rangers suffer from a lack of leadership, I mean, I think it's only fair to look at the guys that wear letters first. And obviously, Adam Fox is an alternate captain. And certainly that would be on him if there's no leadership for this Ranger team this upcoming season, among other players as well. But in just a second, we're going to shift our attention to the good stuff, the best case scenarios for Adam Fox for this upcoming season. I think he's in line for a major bounce back season. Maybe part of it is wishful thinking, but when you look at the full body of work that Adam Fox has put together in the NHL, the total resume, this is somebody that for years has been considered nothing short of an elite NHL defenseman. So we'll talk about that and why I think, again, not just among the Rangers, but among the entire NHL, he is a prime bounce back candidate. We will get to that in just a second. All right, we just want to take a minute to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by our good friends in Gametime. College football is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than the energy of tailgates and being in the stands with your fellow fans. The only downside, trying to get tickets, endless queues, hidden fees, and prices that jump at checkout. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with none of those annoying surprise hidden fees. What you see is what you pay. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, download Gametime today. All right, let's go ahead and keep everything rolling here on Locked On New York Rangers. Big shout out to the everydayers. As always, thank you guys so much for continuing to support this podcast deep into the summer here as we gear up for another season of New York Ranger hockey. Going to continue everything with this series, the best and worst case scenarios. Going forward, we'll continue to break down the entire Ranger roster and talk about all the players that we project to make the opening night roster. And also in the process of lining up a few guests right now, and hope to have that for you guys in the coming weeks or so. So we'll see how it goes there. But for right now, let's go ahead and keep the spotlight on Adam Fox. The best case scenarios, the fun stuff, the good stuff for Adam Fox this upcoming season. I think in a best case scenario, Adam Fox revitalizes the Ranger power play. You know, Fox is sort of the straw that stirs the drink when it comes to the Rangers man advantage. And as we all know, he is one of many players on the Ranger roster who underachieved in general last year, but certainly also on the power play. The power play took a massive step back, as we all know. The Rangers went from 2 seasons ago having the number 3 power play in the NHL at 26.4%, and they dropped all the way down to 5th to last in the NHL at 17.6%. And as bad as those numbers are, as bad of a success rate as 17.6% is on the power play, and as ugly as that looks, the eye test was even worse, especially by the end of the season. I always forget the exact number, but they went like 2 for like 48 or something like that on the power play. It was a stretch so bad that you just could not even believe it. You could not even believe that they didn't even luck their way into a couple more goals during that extended slump at the end of the season. And as I mentioned, the numbers were bad on the power play last year. The eye test was even worse. Just a lot of passiveness, overpassing, perimeter passing, over-reliance on Mika Zibanejad, trying to feed him one-timers, even though that worked a grand total of about 2 times this past season, and just unable to hold the offensive zone, unable to get to the blue line, unable to win a 50-50 puck to keep the offensive zone possession alive on the power play. Guys misfiring on passes. Pretty much everything that could go wrong went wrong. Giving up odd man rushes while you're shorthanded. It was brutal. It was absolutely horrendous. And the Rangers' struggles on the power play, they all share blame. Anybody that played on the power play shares at least some of the blame of that. I'm not going to put it all on Adam Fox, but everything on the Ranger power play, when the Ranger power play is firing on all cylinders and it's humming and it's looking dangerous every single time that they're out there, everything is running through Adam Fox. He's the facilitator. He's the, if we want to switch sports here, he's the point guard. He's the quarterback. He's the guy that makes it happen. Of all the Ranger power play players, all the guys that are candidates to play on the man advantage this upcoming season, you could pretty much bet that the guy that's going to have the puck for the longest time in the Ranger power play is most likely going to be Adam Fox. I mean, just the creativity, the mobility, the way he sees the ice, his accurate passing. He can score a couple goals on the power play too. We didn't see it last year, but we certainly saw it the season before. I mean, he's the guy. He's the guy. He's the facilitator. Everything runs through Adam Fox, and that's where he racks up a bunch of assists. But he didn't do that this past season. This past year, Adam Fox on the power play had only 17 assists. That was down from 27 the season prior, 28 the season before that, and 33 the season before that. And it was also Adam Fox's fewest power play assist total since his rookie season all the way back in 2019-2020. So, look, I mean, the Ranger power play was a disaster. We're going to talk more about the power play in greater detail in a future episode. We might devote an entire episode to that, just how to fix it, how to get everything moving again, whether that's a change stylistically, your approach to the power play, or it's different personnel. You know, we'll dive into that in greater detail. Like I said, we'll dedicate an entire episode to that most likely. But regardless of what the approach is or who's out there or which assistant coach is in charge of the power play, it might be David Quinn. You know, Adam Fox is going to be there because he has to be. He's your all-star defenseman. He's the guy that was top 5 in Norris for 4 straight seasons. He won a Norris trophy. He's the straw that stirs the drink, like I said, on the man advantage for the New York Rangers. He's going to be the guy that goes out there. There's nobody else to put there. I mean, you figure you're going to put at least one defenseman on the power play. The Rangers tried 5 forwards for a brief spell last year when Adam Fox was out, and it was even more of a disaster than usual, the Ranger power play last year. So Fox is going to be there. He's going to be the guy, and everything is going to run through him like it usually does, and he needs to step it up. The Rangers power play this upcoming season it lives and dies with the play of Adam Fox. If Adam Fox struggles in that role, the Ranger power play is going to struggle as a whole. But I think he's going to do a good job with that. And like I said, I think this power play could use a new coat of paint, a new approach, maybe some different personnel and whatnot. But I do think there's still enough talent there, despite what a lot of people will tell you, where the Rangers power play, there's no reason for it to not be at the very least an above average unit in the NHL. And again, that all starts with Adam Fox. I think also in a best case scenario, talking a lot about leadership with Adam Fox today. And I hinted about this in the last section ever so briefly, but I think in a best case scenario, Adam Fox sort of steps up as the leader of the Ranger defensemen. Again, he's not my pick for captain. Let's start a little bit smaller, though, with Adam Fox. Let's see him essentially become the captain of the Ranger defensemen. And in a way, he already is, because you look at this group, and there's a couple of guys that are older than Fox, but he's the only one that wears a letter. He's the elder statesman of the New York Ranger blue line at this point by, honestly, a long shot. I mean, who's the second longest tenured Ranger defenseman? I think it's Braden Schneider at this point, right? And he's into like year 4 or whatever it is coming up for Schneider. But yeah, I mean, you look at the veterans of this blue line. Fox is 27, and there are some guys older, like I said. Carson Soucy's 31. Vladislav Gavrikov is 29. Will Borgen is 28. But when you look at that, I mean, Soucy very likely is not going to be on this Ranger roster past this upcoming season. And I mean, Borgen got here in the middle of last year, and the team was a mess, and they got it together for a while, but then they fell apart. I mean, you're not going to expect Borgen to be the leader of the Ranger defense. But then Gavrikov has not even played a game yet. He hasn't even been a Ranger for not even 2 months yet. So Fox has got to be the guy. He's got to step up and lead that group. Obviously, Jacob Trouba was here for quite some time. He was the Ranger captain. He was the leader of not just the defensemen, but the entire team. I remember during a press conference last year, Peter Laviolette was asked if any Rangers have stepped up in a leadership role. One of the guys that he mentioned was Ryan Lindgren. Ryan Lindgren is no longer here. Even somebody like Keandre Miller is no longer here. So Fox has got to be the guy. He's got to be the leader of that group. He's got to make them understand and emphasize that it starts with himself, but that this group needs to be a heck of a lot better this upcoming season than they were this past season. They were bad in every way that a group of defensemen can be bad last season. Defending the rush, defending the front of the net, pretty much anything. I mean, getting the puck out of their own zone. How many times did the Rangers get hemmed in their own zone last year and couldn't move the puck? And that all of that needs to be better this upcoming season. But again, now that Jacob Trouba is no longer here, some of the other veteran defensemen have moved on. This very clearly is Adam Fox's crew, and he needs to take ownership of it. And in a best case scenario, he will do exactly that. I think also in a best case scenario for Adam Fox, instant chemistry with Vladislav Gavrikov. This is an interesting one because you never know exactly how certain hockey players are going to play with each other. I mean, you can look at forwards and see certain examples of that. I think it's even more unique with defensemen, though, because when two defensemen click, we'll see defenseman pairings stay together for like a decade. I mean, I'm not going to act like that's super common, but there are defense pairings that stay together and they stay together and they stay together. It's the very classic, if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of thing. And obviously Fox, he got about half a decade with Ryan Lindgren. But now the pages turn there. They bring in Vladislav Gavrikov. That was a big move that the Rangers made this offseason in terms of adding players to the roster. A lot of Ranger fans are saying that Gavrikov is the best defense partner that Adam Fox has ever had in the NHL. I would tend to agree. I don't think it's by as much of a landslide as most Ranger fans would have you believe, though. I mean, maybe it is, but the bottom line, I'm a big Ryan Lindgren fan. He fell off really bad this past season. I think for a long time, Ryan Lindgren was probably an underappreciated and underrated defenseman for the Rangers. But with all that said, I do think Vladislav Gavrikov has a much better all-around game than Ryan Lindgren. And hopefully the two of them click. Again, it's hard to know exactly how it's going to work. But if I'm, Mike Sullivan, the Ranger coaches going into this training camp, this preseason and whatnot, I've got those two connected at the hip. This is our top pairing. Let's not mess around with this. Don't even juggle the lineup. I mean, I'm all for experimenting in the preseason and training camp and whatnot, but you got to build the chemistry between these two. Very good chance they've never even met each other until, just recently with Gavrikov signing with the Rangers. So let's start building that chemistry right away. And let's put a defenseman with Adam Fox, who, while not a spectacular player, is somebody that's just so rock solid in every area of his game. Somebody that, that's kind of his MO. You just put him in the lineup and you don't really worry about it. You don't really think about it all that much. And if he's with Adam Fox, I think that's going to bode well for Adam Fox's chances of, having a bounce back season this year. I think also in a best case scenario, a little bit of a quirky one here, but I do think this stuff matters. Adam Fox needs to have better body language. And you could say that again. I'm not going to throw Adam Fox under the bus and make it sound like last season was all his fault. But there are several players on the Rangers, pretty much the entire roster last year, who needed to have better body language. The second this team gave up a goal, everybody was kind of slumped over and having that sad puppy dog look, and there was no fire, there was no excitement. And Adam Fox was at or near the top of the list in terms of bad body language on the Rangers this past season. Every time the Rangers would give up a goal, we'd see him kind of throw his head back, look to the ceiling. What's up there? What's on this? What's on the rafters? What's on the Madison Square Garden rafters that Adam Fox needs to be looking at? I'm not really sure, but that's what he did after pretty much every time the Rangers gave up a goal. We got to get a little bit better with that in that department. That's not just Adam Fox. That's the entire team. But when I do think of bad body language last season, Adam Fox, again, at or near the top of the list as far as players on the Rangers this past season. I think also in a best case scenario, Adam Fox is motivated by the doubters. Adam Fox is motivated by the haters. You've got people coming out of the woodworks, whether it's Ranger fans, NHL analysts, or whoever it might be, talking about how, Adam Fox has fallen off and he's not really an elite defenseman and he's this and he's that and the Rangers should trade him and all this other stuff. Look, I respect everybody's opinion, but Adam Fox has not been getting a lot of respect from a lot of different people this offseason, and I feel like he should feel slighted from that. And we're actually going to elaborate on that in just a second. We're going to go into greater detail as we turn the page here and look at, kind of the outlook for Adam Fox's upcoming season and the verdict and what the expectations of us should be this upcoming season. But we're going to start with him basically being disrespected by a lot of different people this offseason. We will get to that in just a second. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers by taking a look at basically the season outlook for Adam Fox, some final thoughts on, what our expectations should be of Fox for the season. I mentioned the doubters just a second ago and the disrespect that he's been getting this offseason. Let me start. There's two specific examples, to say nothing of what certain fans are saying about Adam Fox. But we'll start with the NHL Network and their unveilment of what they consider to be the top 20 defensemen in the NHL. NHL Network, and I don't know exactly who's doing this ranking, if it's just like the TV people or it's people behind the scenes or how many people are involved in this. But the bottom line, NHL Network, I mean, it's the network of the league, right? They came up with their top 20 defensemen in the NHL right now. They have Adam Fox at number 16 in the NHL. You heard that correctly. The number 16 defenseman in the NHL right now. And I get that the Rangers were bad last season. I get that Adam Fox had a subpar performance by his own lofty standards. I understand that. He was one of several veterans on the Ranger team that did not get the job done this past season. I'll be the first to admit that and the first to remind everybody of that. But I'm sorry. 16th, we are talking about the Adam Fox that for 4 straight seasons finished top 5 in the Norris Trophy. He won the trophy the one time, and that was like 5 years ago at this point, if you can believe that. But the bottom line, he's always in the mix. And even this past season, in what pretty much all of us agree was a down season for Adam Fox, he was still number 12 in the Norris Trophy voting, and the NHL Network puts him at number 16 overall. Now, I keep referencing the Norris. I'm not going to act like that's the be-all, end-all. I mean, it does go to the best defense, but it is a prestigious award. They do tend to focus a little bit too much, though, I think, on the defenseman with the most points. And while I certainly think that should be an aspect of who wins the Norris Trophy, it shouldn't always determine the winner, which it often does. So I get that the Norris is not like this end-all, be-all, like infallible ranking of NHL defensemen. I get that. But come on. How does he go from what we just mentioned to number 16 in the league? The defensemen that are ahead of Adam Fox on this ranking from NHL Network include Shea Theodore, Thomas Harley, Jake Sanderson, Gustav Forsling, Charlie McAvoy. Okay, if all those guys are better than Adam Fox, then let's see it again this upcoming season. I don't think that when this upcoming season ends, they're already talking about all those guys as being overall better players than Adam Fox. I could be wrong about that, but we will see, and I'm happy to let it play out this season because I am very bullish. A lot of you have probably figured it out already on Adam Fox having a nice season for the Rangers and what would have to be considered a bounce-back season as well. One other way that Adam Fox was disrespected this offseason, we just talked about NHL Network. You can also look at the United States Olympic hockey team, at least for now. And this one, to be completely honest, is not unfair. I do think this one has a little bit more merit than the NHL Network putting him at number 16. But what happened here is that Adam Fox was not chosen as one of the first 6 players announced for the United States Olympic hockey team. And again, I don't really have that much of an issue with that because the U.S. is going to have a great team and it's only 6 players. So it's fine. Adam Fox did struggle at least a little bit in the 4 Nations last year. But that doesn't mean that Fox can't use this as motivation. You look at the way everything unveiled last offseason, when we were starting to get to know about the 4 Nations face-off and how is this going to work. The United States announced its first 6 players, and Adam Fox is one of those 6 players. However, for the Olympics this time around, the first 6 players that were announced as members of the U.S. Olympic hockey team are Brady Tkachuk, Matthew Tkachuk, Austin Matthews, Quinn Hughes, and Charlie McAvoy. So those are your 6. Essentially, Brady Tkachuk replaced Adam Fox as one of the first 6. I think the other 5 were the same. But this was interesting, and this is not really a new quote, but I think it's the first time we're discussing it on here. This is a quote from USA General Manager Bill Guerin. This is what he had to say about, Fox not being there. The impact that Brady had on the team and his role in how we play, that was a big part of it. Adam, his tournament was fine. It wasn't as well as he could have played. His season wasn't up to his standards, but he's very much in the mix. This is just a list we had to come out with, and I just feel more comfortable with Brady on it this time around. Now, there's nothing wrong, I don't think, with going with those 6 players over Adam Fox, but a little bit of a call out from Bill Guerin there. I mean, let me read this one more time. Adam, his tournament was fine. That's a backhanded compliment if ever I have heard one. Then he went on to say it wasn't as well as he could have played. I mean, that's just being very blunt. And then he said his season wasn't up to his standards, but he's very much in the mix. So calling him out, not just for how he played in the 4 Nations, but how he played largely with the Rangers this past season. I think Adam Fox needs to use that as motivation as well. Now, I hope that Adam Fox is motivated simply by, you know what? I want to be one of the best players in this league, and I want the Rangers to win, and I want us to be a serious contender this upcoming season. That's where the majority of Adam Fox's motivation should come from. But when somebody's saying things like this about you, I mean, how does that not make you want to run through a wall? And Charlie McAvoy over Adam Fox, I mean, really? McAvoy and not Quinn Hughes? I don't know. That seems like a bit of a weird one to me. McAvoy's a great player. Take nothing away. But McAvoy over Fox seems like a bridge too far. Again, the bigger snub to me of these 2 that we just talked about is the NHL Network putting him at number 16. The fact that the U.S. Olympic team didn't take Fox as one of the first 6, I get it. It's fine. I still think Fox will be there when it's all said and done. But man, he got that call out from Bill Guerin, and Adam Fox has a lot of doubters this offseason. A lot of people that seem to be questioning if he actually is an elite defenseman, or rather that he still is an elite defenseman. Fox is only 27 years old. I think he's got a heck of a career still in front of him, to say nothing of everything that he's already done. And I think you're looking at a bounce back season for Adam Fox. He's one of the core players on the New York Rangers that absolutely must bounce back this upcoming season. If the Rangers are going to recover, if they're going to get to where they need to go, Adam Fox needs to be a heck of a lot better. But I expect that to happen. I expect him to be the Ranger workhorse. He's the guy that's going to be out there leading them in time on the ice pretty much every night, certainly leading them on special teams time on the ice. He needs to get back to being an elite special teams player, both on the power play and on the penalty kill. I don't think there's any real reason to believe that he can't or won't do that. And again, I think he needs to take a little bit more leadership of this team. Even if he's not the captain, which I do not want him to be, but if he's not the captain, he'll probably still be an alternate. He needs to step up in that role as well and let the Rangers know, and honestly, let himself know that what we saw last season, not good enough, not acceptable. We have to be better in every single area of the game. He sounds very motivated. My understanding that he's one of several Rangers that's training with Ben Prentice, who's a hockey fitness guru here in Connecticut, and he really puts these guys through the ringer, and it sounds like Fox is doing everything possible to make sure that he's ready to go for this upcoming season. But we'll call it there. Again, I'm very bullish on Adam Fox having a really good season for the Rangers. You guys let me know how you feel about it, though, in the YouTube comment section, or email me. Do whatever you got to do. But a couple other things I'll mention real quick here. If you have any stories of either meeting Sam Rosen or your experience for Stefan Matteau scoring in Game 7, double overtime against the Devils back in 1994, feel free to send them my way. We're going to read some of those stories in a future episode of Locked On New York Rangers. Definitely looking forward to that. Also, fantasy hockey, again, if you played last season and I haven't heard from you yet, the time is now to let me know that you want to come back this season. And if you didn't play last year, definitely send me an email sooner rather than later so that we can save your spot in line and hopefully get you into the league, because there is a lot of interest this year. Definitely looking forward to playing another season of fantasy hockey with you guys. But we'll call it there. If you guys would like to get in touch with this podcast, please send an email to lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Once again, that is lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Definitely give us a follow on Twitter as well, @jchik17. Once again, @jchik17, and definitely subscribe to Locked On New York Rangers YouTube channel. Thanks again, guys. I will see you next time.